couldn't do much better than that. I'm pretty lucky. So, but let's start with a word of prayer, and then we'll jump right in. Gracious God, thank you so much, Lord. We are a big step closer to the start of the school year. And Lord, we just keep getting news left and right. The scenario keeps changing a little bit. The variables, Lord. And so, Lord, as there's still these questions and there's still lots of changes that could happen, we know that you guide our path. We know that you are preparing us for this year that's before us. And Lord, that you're going to walk with us. And you're gonna get us through all the challenges that could be before us. And so it's not by our amazing work; it's by your amazing wisdom that we're gonna live by. And I thank you. I thank you for the wisdom and brains you've given to Mr. Eichstead and Mr. Sanders and Mr. Schutze and all the other people that have had a word and wisdom into the process we've built out. Bless this evening. Help us be focused. And help us kind of create that vision of a pathway of what this school year is going to be like here at Lutheran High School. But Lord, with that said, remind our students at all time that they are the most important thing to us. That yes, the education is important, but them knowing that they are loved, them knowing that they are valuable, and they are eternally valuable to you, Lord, that they are loved by you in ways that only you can fully understand. Thank you, Lord, again for this evening. In your name we pray. Amen. I'll be honest. I'm double espresso is what Mrs. McKinney just put up there. Was I talking fast for the prayer?
To keep kids awake, I think is what she meant.
Oh, thank you. No, by the way, sometimes when I get nervous, I start talking fast, and that can happen. So if I get like that tonight, go ahead, just somebody be like, stop, slow down. It's okay. Again, I want to thank everybody for taking time to be here tonight. We've seen, like I said in my prayer, we've seen so many changes, so many things that the city and county are doing, and it just makes things more interesting when you're dealing with multiple government agencies, and so we've taken this very serious as well. We don't want to come off as cavalier. We have met about this process. And so we're really at one level very excited and still nervous. We need to respect a virus that all it wants to do is live, right? It's going to want to do that for a long time, and so we have tried to build a plan that's going to help every family know that they're valued by Lutheran High School, but also that we're helping kids move forward and families move forward at the same time. And so when I say that, we get into kind of the basic idea of kind of, Mr. Rice is going to be sharing his screen, but our timeline for the start of the year. Let me put it this way. A lot of schools are worried about the academics, and that's important. I know it sounds weird, like that's important, but for us, I get back to, if my students don't know that I love them and that they are valuable, we have failed. We have failed as a school because we have missed point blank number one of what people are, and people are valuable. People should be loved. And so that's why our student council, starting that first week of August 3rd through 5th, our student council members are going to be making care phone calls to all of our student body, just checking in with them, seeing if there's any cool ideas. And we're going to send out one more survey. I know you guys are probably sick of surveys, but we're going to send out one more that's really more of an official, it's not about opinions. This survey is going to be, it's going to be, Mr. Sanders is going to have some athletic stuff and activities like, your child plans to participate in blank, because it's going to help us plan out our year. And our child would like to see blank club, because we're not going to be able to start our year like we normally do, but we want to make sure we're starting the things that are valuable to our kids. And our kids have been isolated for a lot of time. I know some people have gone on vacations, but this has just been a different summer for everyone. And I believe everybody is just yearning to be in a relationship with others right now. And so getting those care phone calls to start, and I am sure there's going to be some prayer going on those phone calls as well, as students want to just pray with each other and talk. And so that's kind of, sorry, That's kind of that first week, the 3rd through the 5th. And then that following week on the 10th, we already have a great idea of some of the clubs that we know that kids want, and we're going to start those clubs. So we're going to have a cooking club. We think that would be super popular. Hopefully Senora Santori can do that club for us. If not, um, I've got a couple other options to make sure that happens. But we've got cooking club, we've got video game clubs that are going to be starting, we've got Minecraft clubs that are going to be starting, so that these kids can meet digitally and be talking at the same time. Once again, this is about relationships. And I really, last year, I really felt Lutheran High set ourselves apart because of how efficiently and how we kept things very simple so our students could be successful academically in the process. And we did the things we could quickly to help our kids have some relational things, our chapels and whatnot. And our kids hung out in classrooms, digital classrooms with our teachers just to have hangout time. But we want to double time. We want to triple time what we're investing in our kids digitally, emotionally. And so that's where we're going to see our clubs kind of kick off. And instead of school officially starting on the 13th, we're going to do orientation night officially for everyone on the 13th. So we're going to move back our schedule just a little bit. And on 14th, we're going to set up a schedule, probably either by a Survey Monkey or another one, or not Survey Monkey, excuse me. Why am I blanking on? Say again?
Sign Up Genius, probably.
Yeah, Sign Up Genius. So that, basically setting up times to meet with your teachers and just talk. Once again, it's the emotional side and getting any of those nervous questions. Mr. Schutze is teaches some of the tougher subjects there. Like for me, if I was a student, chemistry was a beast. And so I would want to know, like, okay, what's going to happen, Mr. Schutze, and have him kind of dispel some of those worries and get to know him for the crazy, awesome, funny guy that he is, and that type of thing. So on the 14th, the teachers are going to be online all day in meetings with the kids, one-on-one for 10 or 15 minutes, hopefully, just to help let those kids know these teachers care about them. And, it's our attempt at, once again, just another social interaction. And then we get into August 17th and 18th, and you'll see day 1 and day 2 of classes. Now, this is well before the city and county has said for secular schools that they'll be back in session. For our students that have declared they're going to be at home, that's fine. If you're going to be online for a while, that's okay. You've let us know that. Every student, whether you are online or full-time, if you're online full-time, or if you're a student that says I want to be on campus, you're going to be put into a pod A and pod B. So let's just say, and pod A, we'll use the Sanders as an example. So Maya and Rachel are going to be in pod A. I don't know if that's what we're going to do, but they're in pod A, and we're going to make sure that they're together. So if the paralysis, or let's just say Marlena decides she wants to come back for a 5th year, the Shadles, if you have 2 kids, we're going to make sure your kids are in the same pod. And so what are pods? Essentially is on Mondays and Wednesdays, pod A will be on campus. Tuesdays and Thursdays, pod B would be on campus. And that would be, they're in the classes. And what we're going to do is, instead of just social distancing at about 6 feet apart, we're going to be able to keep kids very distanced apart in those classrooms, really lowering the numbers in each of our classrooms. The question I know that people are going to wonder right now is, well, what about my child needs to be on campus every day? Yes, your child can be on campus every day. A part of the survey that we're going to send out later this week will be, yes, I want Maya Sanders. Jeff emails me, Mr. Sanders emails me and says, yeah, we need Maya to be on campus every day because we worry about her being at home. Okay, great. And so we will have a designated area on campus that's isolated from the other pod for them to be supervised and working on campus. They won't be able to be in the classes in the classrooms, but they will be digitally being able to be in class via, we're going to use Google Hangouts and Google Meet, I believe it's called. I'm blanking on the name right now. I'm sorry. I get nervous. But we're going to be using Google's classroom setup for all of our digital learning this year. So, but they will be supervised at all times. Again, this is our goal, to make sure every family is best taken care of as possible. My child needs to be on campus every day. We got you covered. Well, I really like my child to only be on campus a few days a week. We've got you covered. Thank you, Mr. Schutze. And if we've got, we're going to be full-time digital, that's okay too. We've got you covered. But we're also taking distancing and whatnot very seriously. Mr. Isaac, could you flip to the next slide?
I think so.
What's that?
There we go.
There we go. So this shows our school day for next year. It's going to be very different than last year. You're going to notice a couple things. Number one, classes are a little shorter. This is with our recognition that the number of kids are going to be learning online. It is very difficult to be online as a high school learner for much more than this amount of time that we're putting out there. The other thing you're going to notice is, like, let's just look at first period, 8 to 8:35, and then second period starts at 8:45. That's a 10-minute break. Really, this is less for the students and more for the teachers. As the teachers are going to be turning off and kind of saving their class lesson they just did digitally, and then booting up the next class period. It gives them a little bit more of a flex time, but also for our digital learners, if there's a, breakfast or whatever's being planned at home, we're trying to find little moments of flexibility for those learners as well. So you see that being our normal day. Our school day is starting a little later and it's ending earlier. Students that are listening in right now, yes, you can cheer, moments of joy. Everybody's going to love that. Why we did the 8th period ending a little bit early, you'll notice at 2:30. This then gives students the ability to go back to their teachers, either digitally or in person if they're on campus that day, and get clarity on any homework. Like, basically, you've got about an hour of time to talk to teachers and get extra help. It's that opportunity where we don't want anybody digitally or in person to fall behind because of a lack of opportunity. So in a traditional school year, yes, our students are getting help all the time during lunchtime. We just don't think that's enough time in this school year of once again, another challenging year shaping up. And so we will make sure that students have time from 2:30 to 3:30 to really hunt down teachers and get extra help from that standpoint. We also have another time built in as well to help students out. See, Mrs. Stormy, you just asked a question here. It says, will students be able to stay on campus? Yes, your students will be able to be on campus. We will have, once again, a set area. And we have, sorry, I have a son here trying to distract me. Gotta go play. We will have a set area that they will need to stay in. It won't be as flexible as it was last year. We will have a set area that they need to stay in. By the way, I'm itching to talk to you guys about the cleaning procedures, but that's Mr. Schutze's role, so I won't steal that. But you'll notice, again, the teaching office hours, making sure those students have the extra help they need, and then going from there. So go ahead and hop on to the Friday schedule is what's going to be fairly unique. Our students are used to having kind of half-day schedules, and we're going to keep to that. But last year, we had 3 periods on a Friday. This year, we're going to have 4, and they're going to be just a little bit longer because our day's a little bit shorter. So we think students will be motivated because that Friday's a little bit shorter as usual. And once again, you'll notice there's shorter break periods between the classes, but that's because after school, you'll see, well, you have till 1 o'clock from 12:15 to 1 o'clock to get extra help. But you also have, if you need to schedule extra help with teachers, you have all that time. And I know it says up there, teachers available for help till 3. I don't know if we have a teacher that's like, unless they have something important that comes up, if Greta says she wants to meet up with Mr. Eichstead for extra help on AP stuff going on there, I've never known Mr. Eichstead or any of my other teachers to be like, sorry, Greta, I'm done at 3. So, so I don't think that's going to be our problem. We want to make sure our students have all the extra help they need. Our teachers are going to be champions for our students, just like they were last year. So, we're moving very confidently forward. Mr. Sanders, go ahead.
I'm just going to say, as I'm seeing people write vigorously, Mr. Eichstead, you'll, I assume, be able to send this out to everybody.
This is all in a Google Doc, and I will be happy to send it out with this recorded meeting link tomorrow morning when we send that out. It'll all be written down for you.
I know some people may still write because they want to know it tonight and look it over, but just so that people don't feel like one and done, sorry, you missed your chance.
We will definitely take care of you guys. Don't worry on that. And I think, I think I'm done here for now, right, Mr. Eichstead?
Yes. We're on to Mr. Tutsi.
All right.
All right, and so I've got two topics. One is talking about the cleaning process that we're doing, right? You know, obviously, students are sending in that daily email where they're attesting that they are answering those questions about their COVID nature, and we're doing the temperature checks when they come in. But then some of the reason for that, additional reason for that 10-minute break between there is that we're going to do every passing period of cleaning of the rooms, the desks and things like that. And so we need that time to do that. And if you're curious, you know, like, you know, what kind of solutions, you know, a lot of the solutions for the hand sanitizer are 80% alcohol. The other common solution that you can use is a dilute bleach solution, which has got the chlorine in it, chlorine bleach. And so that one's a little bit more economical because you can buy the bleach right in the large sizes and dilute it down daily with water. And so we use that on the desks, and to also reduce high touch surfaces is that the classroom doors will be open. So that one eliminates the touch surface, we'll still clean it. But the other thing that does is it also then gives more air circulation and ventilation. That's tending to be one of the more concern areas than the touch, is that someone that's infected with the virus would then be exhaling virus in their breath, and it's hanging in the air on small micro droplets, and that's why the face mask wearing is important. And so modern buildings aren't built with windows that you can open up. So what can we do is we can leave the doors open. So this is going to be a small challenge, especially in the modular buildings where classroom doors are opposing each other in the hallway there. But that gives us some air circulation and also reduces the high touch surface that we have to clean as vigorously. And then, so those things are happening every hour in the classroom. Mr. Maynard has talked on past parent nights about a misting situation, that it's more effective and more efficient with our time to do the bleachers and other things, like if we ever get into sports, and that's Mr. Sanders' area, if we have to do locker rooms and things like that. Other things in terms of the hygiene plan it was mentioned the last time, the front doors to the modular buildings is where you walk in, and then if you have to leave that module to go to the other building, then you walk out the back and down the decking. But trying to reduce cross patterns and things like that are some of the hygiene things that we're doing. We didn't have that in the slide, but I do have a slide for my other topic. I've got 3 slides, and so I'll talk about some of the changes or innovations that we're trying to do in terms of teaching in this environment, right? Last spring, 4th quarter was a huge paradigm shift. Possibly some teachers had explored some of the things with distance learning and online learning, and boom, we're in it, right? And so we were able to bring in some various professionals. Dr. Levine was great in getting us, what is Zoom, make sure you've cleaned your house before you turn your camera on, and those things. And then we also had Dr. Fraga for a session, and then a full day on how do you teach effectively when the students right are in front of you. And so we're going to continue on that, and the reason I'm talking on that is part of my teaching role this year is to work with my colleagues. I'm self-defining that part of my job as a co-teacher of instructional technology, and I've got a little slide here to try and maybe sum it up for what does that look like. And so years ago, turn of the century, industrial age, we needed schools to turn out factory workers, right? And so mostly schooling was, let's have a bell schedule, and you go here, you go there, and you learn rote things, and it was more about compliance, right? And then somewhere in the last 30, 40 years, we've moved to, we really want the students to be engaged in their learning. And so where we're at now, to where there is all this knowledge is out there. Students can find knowledge without a teacher. The teacher isn't this person that's delivering knowledge and wanting the student to be engaged. And so we're in this this educational era of what we're talking about empowerment. And so I've done some summer reading. Hopefully students know of their summer reading and have picked up their books. But I've been reading myself. And a quote here that I liked from the Empower book that I was reading, that some of the other staff have been invited to read it as well, is our job in education now is not to prepare students for something, right? We're not, making factory workers. We're not making rocket scientists. Our job is to help students prepare themselves for anything. And that's the Empower book there, if you wanted to pick it up, by John Spencer and A.J. Giuliani. And so that's what we're going to be working towards in terms of my role in helping staff turn that paradigm, because just the idea of the remote education, you've already given up a lot of control. The students aren't in front of you, right? And so you can reach through the screen by asking a question or something like that, but you're having to turn the education over to where you're empowering the students. And if we can look at the next slide. And so we started to experiment with this a little bit last year. Number one, Mr. Maynard put out there, this is such a crazy, wacky fourth quarter, all finals are optionals. But what we did require was that whatever you put out for a final for those students that felt like they needed another shot at working on learning and demonstrating that, is that we had things that were called a choice board, where there was different ways that a student could say, all right, here's the 4 topics. You need to address 3 of them, and here are different ways that you can demonstrate knowledge and understanding of those topics. And so that's going from compliance. You need to write a 5-page essay, and there's probably a reason and time for that, and Mr. Eichstead or Ensenberg can talk about, like, when do we need to be writing 5-page essays? But not all the time. That's not the only tool, that way that you demonstrate knowledge. And so you saw different things to where students were able to demonstrate knowledge using video clips or other things like that. And so this gets into some terms that maybe you've heard, making and hacking. It's all about the students being engaged and going with whatever their passion is in terms of that. And so that's that last quote there is the last line. We're facilitating the acquisition of knowledge skills so students can pursue their passions, and assessment should be fun. And I'm serious when I say that. And assessment is happening every day in everyone's lives, right? And you're thinking about, well, students are just knocking off, they're playing whatever, Clash of Titans Battle Royale Deluxe version. But they're constantly assessing how they're doing in the game, and they're working on improving their gaming so that they don't die as early or be the last whatever standing in there. And as adults in your workplace, you're constantly assessing your own performance. There might be a performance review, which maybe is kind of ugly or not so pleasant. But if you're an adult, you are assessing how you are doing all the time. And so we need to try and find ways to make that assessment look more like those things that are naturally occurring, besides coming in and taking a 5-hour AP level exam with multiple choice and essays and things like that. That's not saying those things are going away. They're still very efficient tools for getting some levels of knowledge, but we're going to be working on doing some of those other things. I think I've got one more slide, and then I'll stop talking because this is getting late already. The other book that I was reading is near and dear to my heart as well. This is some of the pioneers in this area: Invent to Learn, Making Tinkering and Engineering in the Classroom. And so I've said from the very beginning, when we started to add tools into the Make Lab, that these aren't tools for Shoots these kids to be playing with in his classroom, right? We want students to feel like every student at Lutheran High School has reason to be in the Make Lab and doing things. And so I'll be working with my colleagues to try and find ways that students can be making and tinkering and doing things where they're using tools in the Make Lab to help demonstrate knowledge or construct knowledge. And this is just not, because I'm just like some weird guy, because I am a pretty weird guy. But this has got foundings in deep thinkers in terms of educational philosophy. Maybe you've heard of this person called Piaget. He's not the only one, but there's many more modern ones that have followed along there. And the terminology or the phrasing that's probably the most prevalent in the public discourse is hands-on learning, right? Some students can learn from books, other students need to be doing things with their hands. Well, the reality is, the truth is, really there was only one kind of learning, and it was this, what we call it, maybe in the public world, hands-on, but it's termed in terms of education speak, it's constructionism. You learn by building things, right? And that can be building through a conversation with your peers, talking about things, or by actually physically creating. The founding person there, who passed away recently at MIT, talked about his true understanding about mathematics and ratios came from his time as a kid when he was repairing bicycles, because there was sprockets that had so many teeth and this ratio and that ratio, and his understanding was constructed of ratios from building and playing and repairing bicycles. So last line there, I want every student in the Make Lab doing something, probably not for my classes, because there's a lot more other classes there as well. So there you go. That's some of my job this year. We'll see how far we go, and it's going to be a long journey.
By the way, Shuti, just to expand on that just for a second, we just had a person donate some to the school to help us. Something I've wanted to do is put air filtration units that are HEPA, and they're also UV. And so they're going to help us pay for to have units in every single room. So once again, more of that air is clean no matter what. Like it is killing the virus, as best we can. So
yeah, excellent. You and I were on the ladders today, looking at filter sizes to make sure we could get better than the average filtration, something in the MERV 13 category, which gets down to bacteria and virus level particle size. So that'll be great to have the purifiers going as well.
And then I had a child distract me. I just want to make sure we let parents know, like between, and I'll say it again, I apologize if he's already said it, that between every use, there's going to be 2 cleanings of desks. So like when a student, at the end of a class period, the student's going to wipe down their desk, and before the new student sits at that desk, they're going to spray and wipe that desk too. So there'll be 2 cleanings between the uses of those desks. Once again, it's just our attempt of, doing it 2 times right now to kill a virus is much better than doing it 1. Again, safety for, us in the long term.
Mr. Sanders, you're up next.
Okay. Man, things have been changing rapidly with some of the world of sports. For new people, I'm Jeff Sanders, and athletic director is one of the things that falls on me. And, you guys got emails, but I know there's so much of that going on. With some of the adjustments made this week, we can't, or as of last Friday, we just stopped our off-season workouts, open gym, things like that. I was going to be hosting a middle school, grade school basketball clinic, and we just decided to not do that. Just to look, let's let things settle. If the government is saying let's scale back a little bit, we decided to do that. And it's finding that line. We want to. God's asked us to honor our government officials, and so we try and do that. Where we can. And so that's where that was. We are looking at exactly when we're going to get that going again. I don't want to give an exact time because things are changing so fast. And I hope you guys know everything I'm going to go through here is very much subject to change, as you guys know. But I just want that disclaimer. Okay. So what TAPS put out, and you can look at this on the taps.biz website, but they have set out that basically everyone is able, first we have to follow guidelines, right? But because we're a parochial school, we have some leeway there. But we will follow our off-season training guidelines until the start of school. And so what that means is whenever the city allows us and we decide to open things up, we can have 15 hours a week with our kids doing sport-specific stuff, weight training, doing those kind of things, but it is not mandatory, okay? And that's what it's been the last few years. That's no change, but some people aren't aware of that. And so just so you kind of know, as per our conversation today, for the start of our school year, okay? So once we begin classes on that Monday, we can begin practices, okay? Which sort of continues to follow that 15 hours. But what they're encouraging us to do actually up through basically September 14th is basically do a lot of skills stuff, try to limit the team stuff so that there's less contact between people, kind of an acclimation period, which is not uncommon for football teams. Those of you that have had students play football, we have to go a certain period of time without pads so that you get acclimated to the weather and those things. They're kind of doing that with all the sports this year. Come September 14th, that is when basically traditional practices like where you can scrimmage and have everybody together will begin, okay? And so for volleyball, scrimmages can begin that week. So actual scrimmages or scrimmages within practice. For fall soccer, that's when they can kind of get going with more full team activities, and for football can go to full pads. The week of the 21st is when games can begin for volleyball. And I'm sorry, I misspoke. Soccer, that's when they can have their official scrimmage. They can start doing a little more group stuff on the week of the 14th, but the 21st, if they choose to run a soccer scrimmage between another school, they can do that on the week of the 21st, and football can have a scrimmage that week. And then on the 28th is when games for football and for fall soccer can begin. And if I didn't say, everybody else's games can begin the week of the 21st. So I know that's a lot. Those are a lot of dates getting thrown at you, but I'll be honest, typing that up when I don't know how much that's going to stick. Okay. So basically, TAPS put out that the 8th is when, September 8th is when we can begin practice. But when we begin in school, we can kind of start those things. The 14th is when volleyball scrimmages can begin. Football's in full pads. The 21st is when games can begin for volleyball, and football can have they're only going to have one scrimmage this year. And then the 28th is when soccer and football games that week is when football and soccer games can begin. Okay. So as far as sort of calendar things, that's kind of how that is going to go. In addition to that, what they've said is at the moment, they're not shifting any of the dates for championships. So playoff for the fall is not moving as of right now, okay? As far as winter sports will begin 2 weeks later. So the first practices will now be November 2nd. Scrimmages the 9th, and games the 12th, the week of those dates. So the 2nd for practice, the 9th for scrimmages, and the 12th for games. And once again, we can put this together and get this sent out tomorrow when we send everything. But that's the idea for that. They did not specify a lot on swim, and I think there's concern because for swim meets, the way, and talking with Mr. Henderson as well, he talked about this. If those of you that have been to swim meets, right, the way those teams are packed right next to each other, right? Not just the people on their own team, but I mean, they've got team right next to each other. I believe that there's, they're looking at that a little more closely, okay? They did not specify on swim in that. That's not me having an oversight. That's, I think TAPS is still kind of looking at that, okay? Where, I think for swimming, like swimming pools have been open a long time. I think the actual swimming part isn't the issue. It's when you're out of the pool, how everybody's on top of each other. And you have to walk directly right past people to get to point A to point B and those kind of things. So that's kind of where that is. Part of making this a little difficult is UIL came out with their recommendations today. And not that we're UIL, but it impacts us because we play public schools, all of those things. And some people may have questions because they'd said for the fall, right, classifications 1 through 4 are going to continue forward. They're not at this point amending their dates, but 5 and 6A are. And the reason they're able to do that, it's a little easier for them because 1 through 4A, those schools are in less populated areas where the virus has not been as active, generally speaking, right? The larger schools are in the higher populated areas where it's been, more active. And so that's my assumption as to why they felt they could do that. Where TAP schools, we're not separated that. Why in San Antonio, there's 1A through, the smallest to largest schools, same with Houston and Dallas. And so they sort of shifted it. UIL also got rid of all tournaments. So there's no basketball tournaments for public schools. So they can't go to tournaments and they can't host them. So what that means for families that are tied into those things, that's going to change our schedules. And what I'll tell everybody is you need to be ready if we're, and I'm praying that we will be able to compete because I think it's good for our students in so many ways. If we're able to do that, you need to be very ready to have major changes. I had a district meeting with football coaches today, and we talked about, it may literally be because we've got a team in Laredo. Laredo may on a Tuesday say, we can't play today. And we're playing Laredo that Friday. And maybe another school says, holy cow, we had a student who tested positive, so we aren't going to play this week. So I may call the opponent of that school and say, hey, can we play, even though that wasn't on the schedule, so that both of us can play? Does that make sense? So there's going to be a ton of shifting and changing. I've already had public schools canceling games with me today. Schedules are going to shift like crazy. So it's going to be on me and the coaches to communicate those things, but it's going to be on parents and players to really be paying attention and attentive to all these shifts because they're going to happen fast and furious. As far as that part goes, we're very concerned. I'm looking at I'm brain locking on what they're calling them. They're calling them I forget, but mouth shields for football helmets. And, our district has said, we're going to do that. We're going to purchase those and put those on the helmets so that people can have a little bit more protection. So we're doing we're going to do the things that we can. Games and things like that, we are going to, be calling for, parents to help out as much as they can in helping keep people separate and helping to, cleanse things as much as we can where need be. We're going to have probably signups for all of our games to make sure that we're not overloaded. And I will tell you that we're going to make sure that we are good guests, are good hosts, and we welcome guests from other schools and make sure we have room for them too. We're not going to say, I can imagine the happiness of Mr. Gonzalez if, JP2 said, sorry, we're not going to let parents from our visitors come and watch, right? We don't want to be that way. And we're not going to be petty. If another school says, we just feel like that opens too many doors, we're not going to go, fine, we're not going to let you in then. That's not how I'm wired. And that unless Mr. Maynard directs me different, that's not how we're going to handle it. We're going to be good hosts to everybody. And it's all the more important this year that we are good hosts to our visitors, that all of the kind of back and forth that can happen in competition, that we limit that. And we're just very welcoming to everybody that comes in. I think as far as game stuff, does anybody have questions on those things at the moment. That's a lot. The dates we will type up and get that stuff to you tomorrow when we send everything else out. All of this can change dramatically. It can all change very quickly. But that's where we are right now. With that in mind, I'm going to shift gears to one of my other hats where we're talking about how do we pull in everybody and be a community. And Mr. Eichstead shared a podcast with me, and there was a Bible verse in there that you're probably going to hear me reference a whole lot, and I think it's super important. Paul was talking about some struggles that he was having, and he was talking when he was in Macedonia, and he said, "This body of ours has had no rest, but we're harassed at every turn. Conflicts on the outside, fears within. But God, who comforts the downcast, comforted us by the coming of Titus, and not only by his coming, but also by the comfort of you, the comfort you had given him." And it kind of goes on, but what that speaks to me and the way it was discussed in the podcast, and please don't mishear me, when Paul was down at the mouth and struggling and felt overwhelmed and struggling, God said, "Here, I'm going to put someone with you. I'm going to put a loving, caring man of God with you to help you through this struggle." And we need to make sure that we're doing that, but we're also encouraging our kids to do that, that we're making sure that they're communicating. In my theology class, my faith class last year, we had a project where we were like, do something for yourself, reach out to somebody, call a grandparent and talk to a grandparent, call an uncle, call that fun uncle, right? that gets in trouble with you. Have good friends that you talk to that aren't going to sit and mope and complain, but that they're going to, pick you up when they're down. You can pick them up, and when they're and it can flip back and forth. I just think that's so important, because everybody's had struggles during this, right? I mean, there will be a lot of nodding when I say that, right? You got to make sure it really be watching your kids and yourself and make sure that you're reaching out and that you've got a Titus in your life, right, to help you out through this. And so some of the things that we're going to try and do, is we're going to get our Fellowship of Christian Athletes rebooted and going. I think that's a great way for our students to get involved and do some things. I'm going to put together, and starting in August, we're going to, for all of our distance people, I'm going to put together just some challenges for everybody, like, something to do physical or outside, right? Go do something. Don't sit in front of a screen all day. Go for a 15-minute walk. Once again, from the podcast, the Prime Minister, right, of England, I think, that said every week he would go and sit in front of a pond for 30 minutes every week because he wanted to refresh his brain and he wanted to connect with God's creation. And I think that's so important. Go for a walk. I know tons of people have done that. I mean, I'm like militant about it. I do my 4.25 mile walk /run /waddle every single day. And, I go out and do it no matter what. If it's the heat of the day, I try and do it in the morning, but I do it no matter what. So I'm going to have some sort of challenge like that. I'm going to put out a biblical challenge, read something, and I'm going to put out a family challenge, something to do. And not that, it's something that, oh my gosh, I have to check these off my list, but to give some guidance and some help for people that maybe they're not wired that way. Like, I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. We're going to help you with that. We're going to put some things out there to say, hey, here's some good things you can try and do that will help you so that it's not all day long sitting at a screen or watching Netflix. I'm going to watch whatever show for the 14th time. We're looking at, getting some other groups, certainly making sure that we get our robotics group up and going, our athletic groups, depending on how they go. And I forgot to mention this before, but with our A and B, right now, certainly until we get closer to competition, our plan is that if you're in an A group, only A people will do athletics on campus that day. Otherwise, splitting into A and B don't really do us any good, because they're going to be, if we have A and B kids coming to practice, then there's no reason to split into A and B, right? We still gain from class sizes being smaller, But, so to at least to begin with, unless things change, that's the plan. If we can find a way to get, the majority of a particular team on the same day, we're going to look into that. We just don't know how feasible that is. So I'm not sure that will happen. We are going to send out, and I know once again, fatigue of lots of questionnaires, and we just sent something out about athletics, but we need to really nail down, are we going to have enough people to field teams so that we can honor other teams that we're competing against, that they know if we're going to be able to do that or not. Coaches know for planning purposes, but not just athletics, but for extracurriculars. If you want to be in band, if you want to do, drama, if you have an idea for another activity, we're going to have a place for you to put that input in there. It doesn't mean every suggestion we can do, right? Because we have limited, human resources and time resources, but we want to hear those things. And if we can make it work, we will do it, right? Some things just aren't feasible for a variety of reasons, but we want to get as many activities, as many groups, so that our students and even our faculty, I want to look into not faculty, I'm sorry, our families, our parents, finding ways to maybe get you guys connected where, I know for some families, you really want to get to know other parents and you're like, man, I feel so distanced with this situation. Maybe we can do some things, whether it's, a Bible study between, Mustang families or whatever else, do something like that. Maybe we have a parent, choir. I don't know. You would not want me in that, but, I don't know. I'm throwing out ideas, but things that can pull us together. Because I will tell you, our faculty is here because we love these kids and we love Lutheran High. That's why we're here. And so I hope that you guys, understand that. And I hope that we show that well, not that we're without flaw, but like I said, I know I threw a whole lot at people, but I wanted to get through, and there've been a lot of questions about athletics, and we finally got some things. Although, like I said, that those things can move very quickly. TAPS, as a matter of fact, met again today after UIL put their stuff out. So they haven't announced anything. Does that mean they're going to be reactionary to UIL, or are they going to hold firm to what they said, or what are they going to do? I can't answer all that. So, we'll see. We'll keep working it. But I can't wait to see these kids, whether it's in Zoom or in person, and get a chance to spend time and, help them, and they get to help me as well.
I'm going to close this out real quick because we're getting close to 7 o'clock. We'll hand out iPads and books and things like that. We'll have a sign-up genius ready to go starting August 10th, so kids can pick that stuff up and get started digitally and getting their books and all that good stuff. One of the things, like we've been asking for help on a lot of things, one of the things we're asking for help with is, when you're out in public, when you're doing things, if we can do all the things as a group to keep ourselves safe, that's going to allow us to be on campus more. The reason we're having an on-campus option is because about 65% of our families said, please, we want to be on campus some way, somehow. And so we're trying to do that to meet the needs of our families. But once we have a case of COVID on campus, then we have to maybe shift gears and go online for a time to keep everybody safe. And nobody's out there purposely trying to get the virus, right? But the more we can do our due diligence and keep our community safe, the more that's gonna help us all out. We're working on a plan for exactly how long we will close down if we have a case on campus. The science continues to shift on that, so we will have those exact days nailed down here in the next few weeks as we continue to learn more from doctors and the CDC and all that information. You'll get an email every day with those 4 questions like we've been asking our athletes. I'm sure Noah has filled out that flyer many, many times now because he's up here working out all the time. We really need you to take that seriously. Now, if you have someone in your home who has tested positive for the virus, we're not calling anybody out, but we want to let people know that information so that they can make a decision and say, hey, really need to send my kid online until I feel like it's safe. And they can make that decision. We're not throwing names out there, but we do want to let people know and make informed decisions. Somebody asked a question about digital security. One of the reasons we're using Google Meet as opposed to Zoom like we did last year is because it's just at least a little bit more secure and hopefully a little more streamlined. That link for that Google Meet is right on top of their Google Classroom, so they just click on it, but they can't get into that Google Classroom without an invitation and a school email address. Does that mean we're absolutely 100% safe from hackers or somebody trying to get into classrooms? No, nothing's ever completely safe, but it does give us another level of security that Zoom just doesn't have as much right now. So that is kind of the hope. For those of you who are online, I'm in my classroom right now because I'm going to run out to pick up my son from baseball practice here in a minute out on the field. But this is kind of the environment that you'll get. So we're looking on cameras that might have a little wider angle, but I'm here, I'm in front of the board, I'm in my classroom, my computer is hooked up to a webcam, and I can see everybody, so I can see my students right here. They can talk. Whenever you guys talk, I have to hook up to my speaker so everybody in the room can hear. We're doing the best we can to bring the classroom as much to the kids as possible and to bring the kids into the classroom as much as possible. That's, Mr. Rainer, there's 3 more things. Do you want to go over those and then we can?
Yeah, I'll go over those just real quick. And then Mrs. Chandrahasan, definitely, we can always give the PTA a few moments. So 3 things really quickly. Number 1, the September 14th date say that we're going to get back, everybody's planning on going back to school on the 8th. I wanted to move that back a week because I think there's going to be a whole bunch of hiccups, and I want to see what those hiccups are so that we avoid those hiccups. So call me silly, but I like to keep us in the best position possible, and so in that case, I think that puts us in a great position. Second-wise, I want you guys to see we're actually visioning very far ahead. Mr. Eichson, Mr. Sanders, Mr. Schutze, and I, we're talking about second semester already and what things could pop up. Obviously, scientifically, people are saying, well, what happens after Thanksgiving? We've got flu season going on, and we have COVID here still around. What do we do? And we're looking at possibly, just so you know, we're looking at possibly needing to be digital from after Thanksgiving all the way to Christmas. And not saying that that's for sure, but it could happen because so many people are going to go visit family members.
Oh my God.
Okay. But yeah, so many people are going to be visiting family members. We're looking at the possibility of making sure that's in place. But I want you guys to know at some point, we really hope and we plan to get back to school, everybody in a normal fashion. We're just not going to do that until we are highly confident that that is the best situation. So please realize, like, we're taking every precaution we can, and if there's something new that we really think is a positive thing for us to do, we're going to consider it and move forward because our kids' safety and our kids' success is the highest. So keep that in mind, and again, don't be afraid to reach out to us as well. We're not going to stop getting better. So. With that said, Mrs. Chandrahasan, since you want to speak last, you have to close us in prayer too. So go ahead and start. No? Is that too much pressure?
You don't want me to close you in prayer. No, I'm not good at that. Sorry.
No worries.
I will be the last person to speak. So I just want to say something really quick. As most of you know, we did send out a link to order some t-shirts online, and we got lots of orders. Thank you so much for supporting our PTA. We did place the order that everybody has turned in so far, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to get those t-shirts to you, since now we're going to be going, remotely until September 14th. So we're throwing some ideas out there. We have a board meeting on Thursday that will finalize how we're going to do that, and also payment. I had a couple of questions yesterday from some parents as far as how they were going to pay for these shirts. So as of right now, we're going to, if we do it in person, we'll have the credit card, obviously checks can also be either sent to us or sent to the school or dropped off at the school. We do have a PayPal account. We're going to see if we can do PayPal. And then we also bank with Bank of America for our PTA account. So we do have Zelle capabilities through that. So we're kind of bouncing around some ideas if we're going to be at school with all the shirts and have like a pickup sign up to come pick them up, or we're trying to figure out how would be best to get these shirts to you and the easiest way possible to pay for them. So just kind of the shirts were ordered, so just we're going to be sending out some more information on when you'll be receiving them and how you can pay for them. Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Chandrahasan. And that actually brings up one more thing. I always debate talking about kind of things that could happen, but I want to tell you guys one thing we're working on. I'm trying to get some donors to do this. Is being on campus is going to be very different next year, guys. I mean, like we've talked about this again and again. Kids are not going to be able to kind of bump each other around and high five. And how do we help kids?
High five, Daddy.
Sorry, that's my son. Sorry. How do we get kids to be connected? And so what I'm working on right now, and if you feel so moved or if you know somebody, we're working with Best Buy right now to purchase about 12 flat screen TVs with Nintendos, Xboxes, and PlayStations. So when kids are on campus, like they can still be playing games and they can still be teasing each other. They can bump into each other digitally in a video game when we have downtime, rather than the physical stuff that is just going to be minimized now. I know it sounds crazy, but it's just, we're looking for every way for our kids to be able to have interactions. So let me know. Okay, a couple questions here. Let's see here. Is there any transportation to school? Yes. So we're still running our shuttles. That survey will go out here this week as well, or early next week, which is verifying who's planning on riding the Shepherd shuttle and who's going to ride the Concordia shuttle. Students before they get on the shuttles will have their temperatures taken to confirm that they're okay. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other questions that want to go and type those in real quick if you want? So I'm gonna give you about 10 seconds and then we're gonna pray this out. Let's see here. Yes, I'm sure, Miss McKay, I'm sure there'll be PTA will do that definitely again and again. Jim Jewell is shaking his head up and down because you can tell that guy loves t-shirts. I love t-shirts, so that's a shame if we don't have enough t-shirts. So, all right, well, I'll tell you what, let's Jim, do you have anything to add? You're on mute.
I can if you want to make me the host, I can share the website with everybody if they haven't seen it, and I can kind of go through. It's kind of finicky, but I could do that if you like.
Well, I'll tell you what, go ahead and send it to Mr. Eichstead, and we'll send that out, and the stuff that we're going to email out to everybody. We'll forward it. We'll speed it up that way. Dress code. Oh, thank you. Yeah, dress code for everybody. Service hours, that's something we're going to have to explore and be creative about. I don't have an instant answer on that. Dress code will be, we want kids that are staying home to be in Lutheran High t-shirts, just like if they were on campus, or a sweatshirt if they want, if you keep your house really cold and they want to be in sweatshirts, that's great. So that's where we're at. Showered would be great too, but since we can't smell them, it's not as big of a deal. Anything else? I have my 2-year-old with me, so I do apologize.
In Jesus' name.
And he just said in Jesus' name. So let's pray. That's his hint. We need to pray. He's literally folding his hands. I have to share this with you. He is folding his hands, ready to pray. Let's pray. Gracious God, thank you so much for this meeting. Lord, thank you for these parents once again, and prepare us for this year. The obstacles are nothing because you are a great God. So walk with us, guide us, lead us, and be the one that we put our hopes and our trust in, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen. All right. We will see you all soon. Mr. Sanders and Mr. Eichstead, if you could hang on and just chat a little bit here for a second. But everyone else, God bless you guys. Lauren, Miss Kress, you have a question, but what about at school? If we come to school with a spirit shirt, yes, spirit shirt, but not jeans. The bottoms are going to remain the same, but you can be in a Lutheran High t-shirt or a Lutheran High sweatshirt any day of the week now. So